What's up y'all, Kirk here, and welcome back to the Geek Effect. In today's video, I have another figure review for all of you, and I'm looking forward to this one because I've heard a lot of good things about this figure. Last time when it came to NECA, I took a look at their Haulathon Turtles, and this time I'm back with another TMNT character, Usagi Yojimbo, and this one is based on his appearance in the Turtles cartoon from the 80s. I'm really loving the details of this character and all the accessories that he comes with, and it's going to be a lot of fun to get this guy unboxed. So with that being said, let's dive on in. Off, we have the packaging here for Usagi Yojimbo, and I love what NECA did here because it recreates the whole VHS style artwork that we saw for the TMNT tapes for the cartoon, and it's a pretty spot on representation of it. You got the TMNT logo at the top, you got the characters down in the center area with Raph off to the left, Leo off to the right, and then Usagi Yojimbo front and center, and he looks awesome. You also have the title of the character, which says The Tale of Usagi Yojimbo, and it's in that exact same font that we saw with the VHS tapes for TMNT. Then at the bottom of that, you have the Nickelodeon logo, along with the NECA logo at the bottom as well, which has that acronym sort of style of family home entertainment that we saw in the VHS tapes as well. At the top, you also have another TMNT logo along with the Nickelodeon logo and some warning. And then you see the same sort of stuff on the spine of the box as well with all those same logos, except for there being volume number 8 on the side, and same thing going for the other side of the box as well. And then when you flip this around, you get some more artwork and everything, and it looks very reminiscent of a VHS style back cover where you have the box showing off the character and just, clips from the episode, but instead it's just showing off parts of the figure in a nice pose and a diorama. Same thing for this box as well. Then you also have a bit of artwork from the actual characters from the show, along with the TMNT logo, and then a read-up which says, when Donatello's pan-dimensional portal accidentally transports Usagi Yojimbo to the sewers of New York, the Rabbit Ronin meets his new allies, the Turtles, and soon learns the ways of the ninja. Shredder devises a devious duel to divide the dudes. It's a bogus bunny betrayal. However, years of eating carrots have given the heroic hare 20/20 vision, and he finally sees through Shredder's schemes. Reunited, the Turtles and their fearless floppy-eared friend confront Shredder and save the day. But as usual with NECA packaging, it doesn't end here because you also have the flap cover that reveals the figure inside, and this thing looks awesome. You can see all the details and everything of Usagi, all the accessories that he's coming with, and I can't wait to get these out of the box. And off to the left, you have some toy photography of the figure itself, which looks awesome. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get this thing out of the box. So here's NECA's Usagi Yojimbo out of the box, and this thing looks pretty solid. I think that they were able to translate the look from the Turtles cartoon into an action figure form pretty well. All the details that we saw in the show are here on this figure, and I think that it's going to be a nice piece to have along with my turtle figures that I have from NECA as well. Plus, he also comes with some pretty nice accessories, which we'll get into a bit later. But before doing that, let's get a closer look at this figure. Moving in a bit closer to Usagi Yojimbo, I definitely love what NECA was able to accomplish with this figure. It looks very accurate to the look of the character from the cartoon. When you take a look at his head sculpt, you'll see all the details that should be there, like the scar over his eye. He has those faded yellow colors to his eye along with the blue pupils, and then the other black lines that are outlining other parts of, the details to his face, like the whiskers, the mouth, the chin. You even have some more of those black lines at the wrap that goes around his ears, outlining that sculpting. Looks very solid. And then one of the cool things about this head sculpt is that it has this sort of like fur texture that's on here, and it doesn't have a very rough feel to it. Instead, it has a very soft feel to it, if that makes sense. And I like that they threw this in here because when you look at the character in the show, that's not something that's really present in the design. It looks very flat and smooth. But them throwing this in there definitely shows them going the extra mile and trying to show the other details that obviously can't really be shown as well on a cartoon character. But this looks very awesome, and I like how that turned out. You can even see some more of the fur chunks kind of hanging off his cheeks on the sides. Looks very solid. And he definitely does have this very stern and sort of calm look to him with this head sculpt, which he has another one to swap out. But this one, I definitely do like this one a lot. It looks very relaxed. and definitely does give off that serious sort of tone of this character. And then when you look at the tip of the ears, you'll see some more of that fur texture as well. Looks very good. And same thing at the back of the head as well. Then when you tilt the head up, you'll see some more of that fur texture once again. Taking a look at Usagi's torso area, we get a look at the details there, and it's very accurate to the look from the cartoon with that very faded blue color at the front. And then when you flip it around to the side and look at it at the back, you're also going to see a slightly darker shade that differs from that. So it has a duotone sort of look to his outfit, and this is something that we see in the cartoon, and I like that NECA wanted to make sure that was included here on this figure rather than keeping things one solid color and just kind of taking away from that part of the accuracy when it comes to this character. But then another thing you'll see are all those black outlines that we kind of saw with the head sculpt, just outlining certain details of this outfit. It turned out pretty well. You can even see like the lines kind of representing those wrinkles on his sleeve right there, and you even have some more of those at the waist of his belt and the bow and everything. And then you also have these cool emblems or like symbols that we see on his outfit as well. So there's one there. You also have it on the sleeves on both sides, and then you also have it at the back of his torso. And I like they were able to include that there on this figure. Once again, like this is a very simple sort of design to Usagi's outfit when you look at it in the cartoon. But when you look at his comic book style outfit, there's definitely more details here, and it's definitely the more detailed version of the character. Actually, shout out to Work More or Less Jason Yang, who actually did one of the artworks for one of the recent NECA Turtle releases, but he actually has a comic book version of Usagi Yojimbo that he made as a custom. So if you guys have not checked that out, be sure to go ahead and give that your eye and kind of take a look at it, because he's actually going to be releasing a bit of tutorials and stuff on that soon on how to get that done for yourself if you want that look of the character. Moving on down towards the rest of the figure, we get a look at Usagi's pants, and these are very simple. They're a solid black, but they do have some good sculpting there. You can see some slight like bagginess to them in certain areas, and I do like how that turned out. And then when you look at the feet for Usagi Yojimbo, that's where we'll see like more detail with the sandals that he has on. You can see a bit more of that fur texture on his feet, and the sculpting for the sandals are pretty solid too. You can see those black outlines outlining all those details of the sandals, and it turned out pretty well. And the bottom of it, there's nothing, too special there. You have the pegs, like if you wanted to peg this on a figure stand or something like that, and then that's about it. But it also has this very cool sort of a nougat color to the sandals, and I do like how that turned out. But overall, like I said, this is a very solid looking figure. When it comes to accessories, Usagi Yojimbo does come with quite a few, and they're all things that are pertaining to the character, just like how it was handled with the Turtle 4-pack that I reviewed, and the accessories are pretty cool. To start things off, we do have an alternative head sculpt for the character, which does have more of that angry, very serious expression that we see right here, and that in comparison to the head sculpt that already comes on the figure, I definitely like this one a lot. But I do still like the more relaxed and somewhat calm and serious sort of tone to the other head sculpt more. But this one does have all the details that we saw on the other head sculpt, like the scar over his eye. You have the same colors for the eyes and details for the mouth and all that good sculpting. The only difference here, of course, is the look of the mouth having more of the teeth showing. And then for the earpiece that he has attached to him, you do see that it's flopping downward instead, or drooping it downward. And I do like this. You can see all the same fur being sculpted there. And what's cool about this is that it actually does have a second sort of accessory to this. And same thing for the other head sculpt, because you can swap these out by simply just pulling out the earpiece. And then once you pull that out, you can swap and rearrange them any way that you please, which I think was a nice touch to have with these rather than just having it all molded together. When it comes to other accessories that are interchangeable, Usagi does come with 2 pairs of interchangeable hands, and these do look pretty nice. For the first set, you do have these gripping hands for weapons, which look pretty nice. You can see the finger details right there, along with the fur details that are sculpted at the base of the hand. That's on both of them. And the same thing actually goes for the other hands that he comes with, which are more of the opened up hands, which those look pretty nice as well. But you can swap these in and out with the hands that are already on the figure, of course. And then for the other set of hands, he does come with 2 fisted hands right here, which I do like these too. But I definitely like the gripping hands more because you can get a bit more action and stuff out of them with having the weapons and stuff in hand and posing with the figure. But they do have all the same sculpted details, like the fur at the base of the hands. And then, of course, you can see like the knuckles and everything going on here with this hand position. And those look pretty nice. When it comes to the weapons that Usagi does include, he comes with a decent selection. And to kick things off, we do have 2 of them stored inside of the sheath that he includes, which I do like the sculpting of this and the colors of it as well. It has this reddish brown sort of color there, along with this peanut butterish sort of color at the tip of it. That definitely does complement the brown very well, along with the black outlines there to bring out those extra sculpted details. And you'll see the same colors there on the grips or handles of the weapons that are inside the sheath. Pulling out the first weapon though, we do have this katana here, which looks very solid. It does use that exact same material for the blade that we saw with Leonardo's katana, so it's not super flimsy, and I do prefer this material a lot. It has some sturdiness to it, and the sculpting and everything turned out pretty well when it comes to that. Same thing for the grip or the handle for this weapon too. I do like how that turned out with the black outlines and stuff, outlining some of those sculpted details on the handle. And then, like I said, same colors and everything there for the handles that we saw on the sheath. And then the secondary weapon that's inside the sheath is the wakizashi, I believe it's pronounced. This one definitely does look pretty neat, and again, it's basically the same sort of sculpting that we saw with the katana, just a shorter blade, so not much else different to say about this, but the sculpting is good. I do like how this turned out. When it comes to both of these weapons, you can put them in the gripping hands and just kind of alternate between them, have them pose and stuff with them, and these are going to be some very fun accessories to mess around with. And then there is something else that comes with the sheath, but I'll get into that a bit later. For the final 2 weapons that Usagi does come with, we do have his guitar right here, and this one does have some nice sculpting to it, especially with the blade and then the handle and the grip, where you can see those black outlines for the grip of the handle or the weapon, and this does look very nice. It has some nice colors to it. You can see the dark gray there and then the light gray for the blade, along with the black outline there. Definitely does help bring out that extra detail to this weapon. And then the same thing goes for his kunai. Definitely has some nice sculpting there. I do like the kunai, and the whole sculpting for that turned out pretty well. And then of course you can put these in the gripping hands for the character and do the same thing like you do with the katanas or the wakizashi. Just pose them around with the character. And it's a nice thing to have with Usagi. The next accessory that we have here is definitely on the cute side when it comes to Usagi, and we do have his pet dinosaur. I believe the type of dinosaur this is called or something like that is a tokage or something like that. I might be pronouncing that wrong, but I do like the sculpting of this piece regardless. It's very nice, and it looks pretty accurate to how these creatures do look from the design in the comics. Like you'll see that same sort of look there with the spots and everything. There's a very thin head and everything right there, and it's a very accurate representation of it, and the sculpting just looks nice overall. It's a nice accessory that comes with this character. I like that they threw this in there. When it comes to the apparel that Usagi does include, he does have 2 different pieces. We have his cloak, and then we also have this hat. And the hat piece, I love the sculpting on this so much. I think that NECA definitely did nail the sculpting when it comes to giving off this straw hat sort of look. You can even see the black outlines there, bringing out those extra details of this headpiece, and it looks fantastic. I think they did a pretty solid job with it, and the color of it is a very nice choice that really matches the look of Usagi, and the whole tones and everything of his, kimono and the pants just clashes very well. And when you look on the underside of that, you can see this brown color underneath that, more black outline there with that circle shape going all around the hat, and you even have the chin strap and everything here in this soft plastic material. Has a sort of peanut butterish color, I guess, to the main part of the strap, and then the white on both ends. And then when you want to put this on, you're going to use the head with the ears drooping downwards, and then put this under the chin and then put it on like so, and he looks pretty cool. I like this accessory on him. I don't know if I'm going to use it too much, but it definitely is a nice piece to have with this character. It definitely does add to the sort of fun factor and display factor to him. The other piece of clothing that we have here for Usagi Yojimbo is his cloak, and this is something that we saw him wear in the episode that he appeared in on TMNT, where he was going around with the turtles out in the city, and this is a nice piece to have here. My only thing is that I do think it's just a bit too big for the character. It doesn't look right when it's on him for some reason, but regardless, it's a nice soft goods piece, definitely has some nice quality to it, and there's also some bendy wire in the hood if you want to kind of fit it to how you want it to look in its position. So I do like that they threw that in there, along with this elastic band that it comes with to tie around the waist, which I thought was a nice touch. I probably won't use this cloak piece too much, to be honest, because I just like how Usagi looks without the cloak on, but it definitely was nice to have this included with the figure. One last thing is that when you're unboxing Usagi's cloak, he does come with an additional elastic band, and the reason that this is in there is so that you can put it at his waist and then attach the sheath that he comes with for his other weapons. And I do like that they threw this in here so that you can have that look from the cartoon and from his comic book appearances with the sheath at his hip. My only thing is that I don't like how this was handled. I think that maybe it could have been done better, to be able to have it at his hip, or maybe just to make the process a bit easier if they still wanted to go this route, definitely throw in some sort of instructions on how this should be used, because it was a bit finicky for me at times and very confusing as to how it was supposed to be attached to be able to have the sheath at the hip and also fit on the waist at the same time. So I definitely think that would have helped this a lot. But regardless, it does look cool once you have it all fixed, and then it definitely does add that extra bit of character and style to Usagi on display. When it comes to the articulation for Usagi Yojimbo, you would kind of expect it to be very restricted, especially with the whole kimono and everything that he's wearing, but NECA really did maximize the articulation when it came to this character, and they just kind of knocked it out of the ballpark. It's a lot of fun to mess around with and pose. For starters, the head does have, rotation there, of course, with a 360-degree turn, which is awesome. It feels very smooth too, especially on the joint that they have here for this figure. You can also tilt it to the left and tilt it to the right. And then when you look at it from the side, you can also tilt it down as far as that, looking at the ground, and then tilt it back as far as that. There's also some slight articulation, I guess, if you want to count that when it comes to the ears, because you can, rotate that, of course, 360 degrees, but it's mainly just kind of like for repositioning it and how the ears and everything are angled. So I do like how that looks. And then when you look at the torso area, you can raise the arms up as high as that. There's also swivel in the shoulder, so you can turn that 360 degrees, same thing with the other arm. And then at the single jointed elbow, you can bend it in as far as that. It stops right there. And then of course, rotate that 360 degrees, which is neat. And then the same thing goes for the wrist with that swivel in that joint. You can rotate that 360 degrees, tilt it downward, and then tilt it upward too. Same thing going on with the other arm. Then there's swivel at the wrist too with the ball joint sort of thing that's in there. You can get some nice range of motion there, kind of angle that all about, rotate 360 degrees, of course, and then tilt it to the left, tilt it to the right. You can't really tilt it too much forward. It kind of like has a stop right there. And then same thing when you're tilting it backwards, it's kind of where it stops too. But other than that, it does still have a good bit of, movement there. And then when you move down toward the legs, this is where there's a lot of good motion there because of the soft plastic material being used for the pans. And so if you want, you can raise the legs up as high as that. Same thing for the other one. You can angle it back as far as that. And then if you want to have him doing some splits or something like that, bow. There you go. Usagi definitely does have it. And, you can just get a lot of cool poses with this guy, whether it be kicking poses or running poses or anything like that. There's also some good, articulation too in the knees with that single joint. You can bend that in as far as that, then extend it back out. And then the feet do have these rockers to tilt them, side to side, and then also tilt it back, or then tilt it inward and rotate it 360 degrees, of course. And so, like I said, Usagi definitely does have what it takes to be a fun, posable figure just to kind of mess around with and have on display. And I'm really looking forward to taking photos and everything of him and all his different poses. And also, he makes like a great desk figure, like kind of how I plan to have RoboCop on my desk and just have him on display from time to time. This is definitely going to be one of those figures that I have as a desk figure because he looks awesome, and I definitely think he's going to be a lot of fun. Taking a look at the scale of Usagi next to other characters, I do have the NECA Holothon Turtles, both Raph and Leonardo, just how we saw them on the cover for Usagi's box art, and these do scale up pretty nicely to the character. You can see that he's pretty much the exact same height with the turtles, especially once you have the ears there. If you weren't to have the ears there, maybe like have them with the drooping down look from the other head sculpt, then he would kind of meet at the cheek area of their heads, but they do look very nice together, and you can see them front facing. You can see them once again from the side. You can see it at the back of the figures. And then you can also see it at the side once more. And then next up, we also have Mikey and Donnie next to Usagi. And you can see how these scale up next to each other. Basically the exact same thing that we saw with Leo and Raph. And you can see that front facing. You can see that from the side, of course. And then you can also see that from the back. And then from the side once more. We now come to the end of the road with NECA's Usagi Yojimbo, and in the end, this was a very solid figure, and I loved how it turned out. NECA is really doing a good job when it comes to their turtle characters, whether it be from the cartoons or, any of the comics and any of the other source material when it comes to TMNT. They're really doing a good job, and this figure definitely sold me on wanting to pick up more TMNT stuff for my collection, especially after having the Holothon Turtles and taking a look at those. I'm definitely sold on getting more TMNT stuff from NECA. The details of this character are amazing, and I definitely think that they nailed it when it comes to the accuracy of how it appeared in the cartoon and then translating that into an action figure. It has some nice accessories and it's a lot of fun to just mess around with and pose and stuff, especially with the whole articulation. You would think again that it may not be too fun with the whole kimono and everything, and it might be a bit limited, but that's actually not the case. It's still got some good range of motion and it's a lot of fun to play around with. Again though, like I said earlier, I definitely don't care too much for the whole elastic band when it comes to attaching his sheath for his katana and his wakizashi. I just think that there maybe could have been a better method for attaching that to the hip, or if they were to still go with the elastic band, maybe include some instructions just to kind of assist the person that's picking this figure up on how to attach it to the hip and keep the sheath on there as best possible, because it was a bit finicky for me at the start and I was kind of confused and almost didn't, bother putting it on. But other than that, I do like how, the whole accessories and everything work together. The cloak is also pretty cool too. I like that they threw that in there since we saw him wear that in the episode for the 80s cartoon for the Turtles. So that's nice that they threw that in there, and it has the bendy wire to kind of form the hood, which is nice, but I don't see myself using that too much. I like having Usagi displayed like this with all his, details and everything showing, especially for his kimono and the head sculpt and everything like that. I want to show that off in all its splendor and glory, and I like this style more than having the cloak on him. That pretty much wraps up this review though. If you guys enjoyed it, be sure to go ahead and give it a thumbs up, as well as subscribe to the channel if you guys are new so you don't miss out on more figure reviews in the future. And let me know down in the comment section below if you guys have Usagi in your collection or any other TMNT figures in your collection. What are your thoughts on this one? Do you guys like it? Do you guys not like it? Let me know down in the comments and let's talk about it. I do hope you all have an amazing day, and I'll catch you all later. Peace out.